We've got good news for prices at the grocery store, another WOTUS update, and so much more on a jam-packed episode of the Arkansas AgCast starting right now.
You're listening to the Arkansas AgCast, where we discuss the latest news, trends, and issues impacting Arkansas farmers and ranchers. Our show is brought to you by the Arkansas Farm Bureau Federation and hosted by Jason Brown and John Nickman.
Thank goodness the Mac is back.
I'm back, baby. Sorry I had to leave y'all for a little bit, but I'm here now, so no more worrying.
Man, I am so glad you are back.
You missed me? I think you did.
I missed you. It's really hard to cover a show on your own, and it just looked weird, as you said. So Saturday morning, I wake up out of this text from Mac, and it's just a screenshot of the podcast on Facebook.
Yeah, I'm just gonna let that sink in a little bit before.
Nothing, no words with it. And I wrote back and I said, I look sad.
And I said, you look lonely.
That's kind of cruel.
Yeah, I mean, you know. But the show went on.
It did. It has
By
to.
golly.
It worked.
The show went on. Brian and I covered it. Matthew was here too.
He was.
Not here today.
Not here today.
He is busy.
He is.
He's going to be like like the rock stars on tour. He's going to be like, man, so good to be here in Arkadelphia. And they're like, Matthew, you're in Paragould. What are you talking about? He's not going to know where he is.
Yeah. When's the last time we had the whole team together?
It's been a few weeks.
Matthew was out for a while. And then
it's been a while.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I bet it's been 4 weeks.
Come back, Matthew. We miss you.
Just goes to show a lot of irons in the fire. So
yeah.
We're
running a bunch of different directions, but it's busy. That's a good thing, as I always said. Being busy is job security.
Yeah, yeah.
So, matter of fact, Matthew and I were in Bentonville yesterday, and I just bring this up because I think it's of interest. Number one, it started with policy in December 2021. Direction for the PR department to create a campaign about road safety.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We did that in last summer, and you've heard those spots. If you're a listener of the podcast, you've definitely heard those spots run. You may have seen them online somewhere, and so on and so forth. We are in phase 2 of that now. We are working up in Northwest Arkansas to put out some information very similar that's helpful to the cycling community up there, which, as we all know, is thriving.
Huge.
Yep. So we spent the day up there yesterday doing some work on that, and still have more to do, but that kind of put Matthew a little behind.
Yeah.
And learned about squirrel milk. I mean,
we did. We learned about Jim Wilson's
squirrel
dairy up there.
Really? Is this similar to an almond milking facility?
Operation. So I'll spare you all the details, but Jim founded, as I'm told, by my friend Wes Evans, who helped us up there. Jim founded the International or World Squirrel Cook-Off.
Oh, yeah.
In Benton County.
I know about that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Same guy. So he's got a sign up at his farm or his place that says this is a squirrel dairy. You can buy thimbles for 10 cents or thimbles of squirrel milk or whatever. So we were the cyclists that we were working with. You have
to wear some protection to do that. Sorry.
The cyclist we were working with yesterday, as soon as we sat down, he goes, "You're a farmer," to Wes. "You're a farmer. Let's set the record straight right now. What's up with that squirrel dairy?" He's like, "I've been on a bunch of rides with guys that have asked if they could actually pull in there." And, of course, he knew it was a spoof. And Wes was like, "Funny you asked me that. I know the guy who made that thing." And he's like, he still gets a call or two every week asking about it. So,
is it local?
Yeah, organic, even
sustainably raised.
But anyway, we had fun up there. anyhow, I was kind of looking. You were talking about before we started about this day in history and history trivia. We were telling you we used to do stuff like that before. The Masters was last weekend. Did anybody
watched it all?
That? Did you really?
Oh yeah.
That was kind of tough to do considering some of the weather stoppages they had. Right?
Yeah. Did you see that tree almost falling? The two trees, I think,
did.
almost falling those people.
I did.
You know, they increased the amount of attendance they allowed at the Masters this year.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, for that tree to fall down and then
not
potentially hit some people, you know, that's
gosh.
just like, is that ironic? I don't, you know, is that the right word for that? That's just,
I'm a big
could have been terrible.
I'm a big Wright Thompson fan, and he shared a clip of him commentating. I think it was a green shot that was happening, and he captured real time like his language as the tree was falling right in the background.
Yeah,
and it was pretty fun.
Yeah, how about that kid from Texas A&M?
Yeah,
I don't want to give Texas A&M any credit, but he did really well.
Yeah, he did. And you know what happened at the Masters today in 1997?
I bet you're going to tell me.
I am going to tell you. Tiger Woods won his first Masters in 97.
Wow.
Nice.
Do the math on that, 26 years? I don't know. I'm just putting it together real quick.
So,
I think that's 26 years ago.
You remember that one Masters, he chipped that one in from the sand trap?
Oh, yeah.
I still remember where I was and what I was doing.
Really?
Yeah, I was sitting in my parents' kitchen eating a Wendy's cheeseburger of all things. And my mom, I was like, Mom, you got to watch this. And we both watched the whole thing.
Yeah.
And she was cheering louder than I was, I think.
Oh, my grandmother was a huge Tiger
I don't know
Woods
why
fan.
I remember that so well.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's the Masters.
Food memories.
It's the Masters, man. It's just
They do trigger.
Yeah, they do.
food is, food and the Masters go right along together. Cucumber sandwiches, pimento cheese, so on and so forth. Anyway, I thought that was interesting. I will say, not in our notes anywhere, but I did read this morning some devastating news for you two on the NBA draft
Oh, yeah?
Oh,
and
no.
the Razorbacks.
We're-
Any guesses?
Anthony Black is going to the NBA.
Anthony Black is going to go. He declared.
Yeah, I saw that coming.
I know y'all talked about that a couple times on the show, and kind of hoping he would stick around.
Good luck, man.
Yeah, good luck to him.
Yep.
Yep, he should do pretty well.
So I did see that. Is that 3 now?
Two.
It's two.
2. Nick
Devo
Smith.
is exploring his options.
Okay.
Yeah.
But still
Okay.
keeping his eligibility.
I thought there was somebody other than Nick Smith, and then Anthony Black.
Jordan Walsh was a thought, but I just don't see him.
I don't see him doing that
Okay.
yet. No.
Okay.
The pressure may be on after this.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I just want to kind of chat about that. Well, I mentioned before, anything else going on with you guys?
Man, baby.
Good Easter?
We had a great Easter.
Everybody healthy?
We had a crawfish bowl. Everybody's healthy.
Really?
Yeah.
Crawfish bowl?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anthony's teething, so I was out yesterday because he caught a fever. Couldn't go back to daycare, so luckily it wasn't today.
Yeah. Well,
But he's better. He's doing great.
well, good.
Happy baby.
That teething stuff is no fun.
Yeah. He is a completely different baby right now than
Yeah.
what he was. But
Keep all that good frozen stuff. And
yeah.
we used to freeze like carrots and stuff too. Just give them something to kind of gnaw on. Brian, everybody okay at your place?
Everybody's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
Well,
no
good.
complaints. We're all having birthday parties and all kinds of stuff,
Man.
grandkids
Yeah.
and stuff. So it's all good.
Well, good.
The youngest one accidentally called me this morning, just punching on their mom's phone and stuff.
Yeah.
And, you know,
That's pretty funny to get a phone call from a kid.
yeah, from an 8-month-old.
Oh, an 8-month-old. Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
I guess she didn't have much to say.
Yeah, no.
That's funny.
Probably would have just been a squeal.
Yeah, exactly.
When I'm feeding Anthony, he'll send out text messages on my Apple Watch.
From
while
your
I'm not-
watch.
Yeah,
when I'm not paying attention.
You got to watch. Yeah.
Yeah.
I read some story where some kid got their parents' phone. This was before they were locking everything down. And ran up some ginormous Apple bill.
Oh,
because
really?
they were just hitting buy.
Oh,
And
yeah.
They didn't have it locked down with you have to enter
Like
a
a
password and all
password
that
or
stuff.
something.
He's
Yeah.
just buying all kinds
Yeah.
of stuff. He had to contact Apple and say, I've got a $2,000 bill for
I think that was a thing when Amazon Alexa devices first came out too.
Yeah.
A lot of kids buying stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I put that on lockdown real quick. So.
Yeah.
Password protect that stuff.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. All right, well, good. Glad to hear.
Yeah, all good.
Well, like I said, since we do have such a packed show, I think we'll move right into it. Gosh, even the intro portion of the show is packed today. Something we mentioned last week and just wanted to call out again today. The IRS has announced tax relief for storm victims here in Arkansas. The deadline for tax filing was April the 18th, but it's been extended to July 31st of this year, and that applies to those in Cross, Lone Oak, and Pulaski counties. Just those areas that were impacted by the tornadoes a couple weeks ago. That new deadline, in addition to your traditional tax filings, applies to quarterly estimated tax payments, quarterly payroll, and excise tax returns.
Okay.
So I think I mentioned this on the show last week. We are not accountants,
No.
even though you're an economist. It's
Nowhere
very
close to
different.
being an
So if you have actual questions about that, please reach out to your accountant or accounting professional, tax professional. We're just passing along a news release that we've seen. Let's see here. Food support for tornado victims is on the way from USDA. Approximately 7,000 families in Cross and Pulaski County have been affected by those recent tornadoes and severe storms. Those folks will soon be available to receive food packages containing nutritious, high-quality foods that are 100% grown and produced on farms in the United States.
Awesome.
Great news. That's really cool to know that it's all grown here as well. That was news to me.
Yeah.
Anyway, the USDA approved the short-term measure to address an immediate need for food until a longer-term solution is ready to be put in place. The Disaster Household Distribution Program has been approved to start, backdated to April 7th, 2023. Arkansas officials will work directly with its partners and local food banks to issue food boxes to participants located in those affected areas.
Yeah.
So a couple of important notes about storm recovery and support still going on. The last thing I've got, and I feel like I'm doing all the talking.
You're
here,
doing a great job.
I apologize.
Yeah.
Is our planning progress report. We've yet to put this in a full-on story, mainly because we just don't have the room.
Yeah.
We've got so much news to report. But we're still sort of slow going here. But our planning progress is moving forward quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Corn, and you predicted this. I gave you credit on the show last week. You weren't here, but you said we're going to see a major uptick as soon as we get a break in the weather.
Sandy ground over in eastern Arkansas is drying up quick, and so people are trying to get in the field as quick and fast as they possibly can, And,
well, that's one of the reasons Matthew's out today. He was expecting some planting to still be going on when next week, and they called yesterday and said, "Hey, we're about to be done, so you got to get over here."
When they start rolling, they don't stop.
Yep. So anyway, planting progress, real quick rundown. 16% of corn has been planted. It was only 7% last week, so we've a little more than doubled. And we've even got 4% of the corn in the state emerged. So I think, fingers crossed, that we're out of the freezing temperature zone.
You gonna jinx us like that?
No, I'm knocking on wood. I promise you.
Man.
Don't remember that. Like that. Don't do me like that. Don't do me like that. So we've got some corn out of the ground. 4% of rice has been planted. That's double over last week. And 6% of soybeans have been planted, which is triple over last week. We got some folks trying to get out of here before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Fall, I think.
Yeah, I was talking to some people the other day, probably yesterday, that they were planting rice.
Yeah.
And then I seen follow the Isables on Instagram. They were planting rice.
Okay.
So
yeah.
And then some people had told me they'd planted soybeans. So but that 4% emergent corn is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So we're seeing some major progress in the state. I know we did talk about those early corn and beans. We did a video with the Miles family down in McGee. I saw Successful Farming did a follow-up on that, and they lost all that. And
did they?
As Matt Miles said, he's like, well, I want to know how early was too early, and I think I found out.
Yeah.
So there we go. But anyway, all right, well, let's dive into the rest of the show here. We'll get started with one of the last legislative updates of the session today, although we cannot be too sure that this is the last one. On April 7th, 2023, the 94th General Assembly gavelled out, while it's not the conclusion of the 2023 legislative session, it is the end of the regular session, which began on January 9th. Adjournment sine die is set for May 1st. The legislature can be called back before then to address any errors. In total, the General Assembly met for 89 days. So, as we've discussed many times here on the show, there was a ton of action in this session. Today, we'll give a few highlights from the Farm Bureau policy priorities perspective. But rest assured, our public affairs team will be sharing a much broader recap of the session in the coming weeks. Let's start with SB 506, one of the last bills to see action in the session. The purpose of that bill was to transfer agriculture promotion boards to the Department of Ag by a cabinet-level transfer. We were opposed to that bill, of course, because it would end a long-standing private-public partnership. However, that bill passed the House floor with a vote of 57 yeas to 19 nays. Contrary to SB 506, Farm Bureau supported HB 1843, which would have addressed the appointment process for the checkoff boards and allowed each board to establish their own rules for government and administration. But HB 1843 failed the House by a vote of 48 yeas and 29 nays. SB 324, which would allow Arkansas Farm Bureau to offer certain health benefits plans to members, passed a few weeks ago. It's on the way to the governor's desk for signature. Act 243 passed much earlier in the session, an exciting opportunity that creates a fact-based agriculture education program for elementary school students in Arkansas. There's also Act 161, which requires the Veterinary Medical Examining Board to issue additional certifications for a veterinarian technician specialist, and outlines requirements for collaborative practice agreements between vets and vet tech specialists.
Okay.
HB 1662 will exempt the sale of veterinary drugs and medicine from certain licensure requirements and provide some additional regulatory relief with the sale of shipping of antibiotics and microbials for veterinary medical use.
Yeah.
Lastly, SB 476 will create the Rural Veterinary Student Scholarship Program and the Agri Scholarship Program Fund, which allows the Department of Ag to establish and administer scholarship programs for certain students with a focus on agriculture.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So that sort of wraps up our legislative update for the time being, as we mentioned. Certainly a full one. Keep your eyes out for that, that longer form version from our team.
Yeah, kind of summary of what all happened.
Yeah, and with that, why don't we move on to some?
It's my turn
news.
finally.
No doubt, man.
Well, anyways, big news coming out of the ag lending world. Farm Credit Mid-America and Farm Credit Mid-South have both merged to become Farm Credit Mid-America.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So in June of 2022, the board of directors for Farm Credit Mid-America and Farm Credit Mid-South announced their intent to merge. In late August, each board met independently to review the merger disclosure document, which in turn received preliminary approval from the Farm Credit Administration, which is also referred to as FCA.
FCA. And that's a federal?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So that was in January 2023. Just this past February, the merger was approved by a vote from stakeholders of both cooperatives, with the final approval granted by the FCA in March, so just last month.
Yep.
Farm Credit Mid-America now serves 137,000 customers in 391 counties in Arkansas, Indiana, Kentucky, Missouri, Ohio, and Tennessee. The association now has 88 offices in 6 states and employs approximately 1,650 team members. Its products and services include loans for real estate, operating equipment, and rural living, as most of us know, but as well as crop insurance and vehicle equipment and building leases. The merger adds new commodities, including rice and sweet potatoes.
Interesting.
Yeah, so some rice and sweet potatoes from Arkansas there.
Yeah.
To Farm Credit Mid-America's already diverse agricultural portfolio. Andrew Wilson, chair of Farm Bureau Mid-America's board of directors, said, "This is an exciting time for Farm Credit Mid-America as we bring our customer, owners, and team members together to form an even stronger cooperative. Together we are fulfilling our purpose to secure the future of rural communities and agriculture by serving their needs with excellence."
Awesome.
So just to end here, Dan Wagner continues to serve as Farm Credit Mid-America's president and chief executive officer. Dane Coomer, Franklin A. Fogelman Jr., and Gary Sitzer have joined Farm Credit Mid-America's board of directors from Farm Credit Mid-South.
All right. Just a quick correction. Not calling you out.
I think I noticed
when you
that.
Said, when you were talking about Andrew Wilson's quote, that's Farm Credit Mid-America, not Farm Bureau Mid-America. Sorry. I just want to make sure we
No. That's why we're here to help each other.
All right. Well, there's some Arkansans there, Franklin and Gary on Mid-America's board.
Yeah, that's cool to see.
Yeah. So,
all right, let's take a short break from the news to hear about our foundation and the role it plays in Arkansas.
At the heart of Arkansas are its farm families. The Arkansas Farm Bureau Foundation works to provide financial support to rural communities. Since its creation, the foundation has donated more than $1.5 million to community disaster assistance, Egg in the Classroom materials, MASH scholarships, support of Arkansas FFA and 4-H, sponsoring local events, and donations to other charitable organizations. Through our efforts, we have had the opportunity to impact lives in every county in the state. We believe by investing in local communities, we will improve the lives of Arkansas families. Help us ensure the future of agriculture and the rural way of life by donating today.
And if you're watching the podcast, then you certainly were able to see some video there as well. Just a note, the work our foundation does is so important across the state. If you've not taken the time to find out about everything that we do with that, you can certainly do so at arfb.com.
Yep.
All right. Next up, some great news for consumers, courtesy of reporting from our friends at AgriPulse. Executive editor Philip Brasher published a story yesterday noting that grocery store prices are down for the first time in 2 years.
Awesome.
The decrease isn't much, just 0.3%, but the decline is the first we've seen since September 2020.
Yeah.
The lower prices were noted in many aisles of the grocery store, including meat, dairy, fruits, and vegetables. The overall consumer price index did rise 0.1 of a percentage point in March, but that's mainly the result of higher housing costs. Mm-hmm. More good news from this story. Energy prices were also down 3.5%. I think I've seen some similar reporting, especially with natural gas here in the state this week on that. While the news on grocery costs is good, prices are still quite elevated, with the CPI for eating at home nearly 8.5% higher than March of last year. Yeah. Egg prices, which really jumped last year due to the avian flu outbreak, we've talked about that a lot here, fell more than 10% in March, their second straight decline, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Beef prices are down 0.3% in March. The cost of pork dropped 1.1%, and chicken prices declined just over 0.5 percentage point. Milk prices fell 1% in March, and fruit and veggies saw a decrease of almost 1.5%. While it is all good news, of course, the USDA does forecast that food prices will rise on a whole for 2023, well above the historical average food inflation of 2% annually. So we'll have to continue to keep an eye on that. But for the time being, in March, the numbers were positive.
Well, that 10% in eggs is more than I thought we were going to see.
Yeah.
To be honest with you. I mean, we did report on it, that we were thinking it was going to happen. But me personally, I'm excited to see beef is falling too.
beef falling and
not much, but it's a start.
Yeah, it is a start. And so anyway, it sounds like just about every aisle in the grocery store is going to see a decline, or saw a decline in March rather. So hopefully that continues.
Well, we've been reporting, or I guess I've been reporting on WOTUS, and here we are again.
It's a weekly feature.
Yeah, it's kind of a mess. But since I was out last week, I'm going to kind of give you what popped up last week as well as this week. So like I said, yet again, WOTUS is in the news, and this time it comes out of the state of Kentucky and North Dakota, but also the White House.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So the state of Kentucky filed a lawsuit against the Biden administration and its Waters of the U.S. rule. The ruling was published a week ago, Monday, not this past Monday, the Monday before.
Yep.
And found that the state and other business interveners do not have standing to challenge the rule. The state had also asked for a preliminary injunction to prevent the enforcement of the WOTUS rule, and that, too, was denied by the judge in the U.S. District Court of the District of Eastern Kentucky in Frankfort.
Okay.
Now, I quote, "Without a certainly impending injury, the matter is not ripe for review," said Judge Gregory F. Van Tatenhove on the ruling. He continues, "Simply put, there is nothing standing. Judges may not rule a case off the shelf because the policy issue is compelling. Their work is limited to, quote, cases in controversies, words of limitation. The court has no power to decide this matter."
Interesting.
The judge also went on to say that the state of Kentucky could not establish infringement on its sovereignty by identifying a water that should be in the state's exclusive control over which the agencies assert jurisdiction. However, there was no showing of infringement on its sovereignty, so injury to its sovereignty is not impending.
Interesting.
Basically, more or less, the judge is stating that the state of Kentucky did not present adequate evidence that the new WOTUS rule would overreach on the state's jurisdiction, and what they did present was only speculation.
Yep. But the story didn't end there, did it?
No. I've got more. Now, just the opposite has happened in North Dakota. Now, Judge Daniel L. Hovland of the U.S. District Court for the District of North Dakota issued a preliminary injunction on the EPA's new WOTUS rule. The judge ruled that 24 other states have previously shown that the new 2023 rule poses a threat to their sovereign rights and amounts of imperishable harm. The states involved in this litigation will expend unrecoverable resources, complying with a rule unlikely to withstand judicial scrutiny.
All right.
Well, however, while all this is going on in the states, the House and Senate in Washington, D.C. both used the Congressional Review Act to enact a measure blocking the WOTUS rule. In March, the House approved this resolution 227 to 198, and the Senate voted 53 to 43 just this past week to overturn the rule. I should note that a Congressional Review Act resolution only requires a simple majority, and both chambers cannot be filibustered.
Yeah.
So, however, as expected, President Biden vetoed the congressional resolution last Thursday, a week ago today.
Yeah.
The increased uncertainty caused by the congressional action would threaten economic growth, including for agriculture, local economies, and downstream communities, Biden said in his veto statement. He continues to go on saying farmers would be left wondering whether artificially irrigated areas remain excluded or not. He added construction crews would be left wondering whether their water-filled gravel pits remain excluded or not. The resolution would also negatively affect tens of millions of United States households that depend on healthy wetlands and streams. So it is a roller coaster called WOTUS.
It is. Well,
and I'm sure we'll have something next week.
A quick note. I don't know if you saw this from Arkansas Business this morning, but Arkansas was included in that. And sorry if you reported that and I missed it, but Arkansas was included in that ruling in North Dakota.
I meant to list the states that were in there, but I said that.
I think that would take us a long time, but certainly, Arkansas is one of those. It was a 45-page order, he said.
Yeah. So with North Dakota, then we had the Texas and Idaho
decision a few weeks
the other
ago.
day.
Right.
They're up to 26 states.
Okay. Goodness gracious. Yeah. So
over half the country is against this rule.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, it's moving quickly.
Yeah, it is. And it's going to be interesting to see. I think that
and all this comes as a Supreme Court ruling is
in
pending
Idaho.
in the wings, right?
In Idaho. And I found out and reading another article is that this couple that is in the lawsuit with EPA about this rule was trying to build a house on a lake, and the EPA ruled that it was in a regulated zone.
Yeah.
So then just this, somebody trying to build a residential home on a piece of property is going to decide what all this means.
Yeah, it's not really
what happens to it.
Even though the implications are largely agriculture,
Yeah.
it didn't even come from that. Wow, that's interesting. All right, well,
The more you know.
Exactly. We'll keep an eye on WOTUS, that's for sure.
What you guys are basically telling me is we're going to have just a strictly WOTUS show.
Yeah,
I mean,
a new offshoot of the podcast.
Pretty much. I mean, that's what it's.
Man, there's a lot.
To.
I mean, it's complicated. Like you said, regulating a gravel pit that's got water in it or not.
You know, when I first reported on this, it was like, all right, we'll see what happens. And then it's been every week.
Every week. I remember that.
Yeah. So this is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
I think the Texas Idaho was the first one.
Yeah,
maybe
it was. And
that
then,
you brought.
Man, whatever happens with this one, if there's an administration change, you know, if it goes back to the Republicans, it's going to start all over again.
Yeah,
exactly.
So,
wow,
we may be talking about WOTUS for a long time.
And that's so hard on farmers who are trying to just understand the rules, play by the rules.
What's protected and what's not.
What's going on. Yeah, exactly. And it's the moving target that really, you know, does so much harm. But anyhow, believe it or not, that's the news. I think we got through that in record time.
You did.
I mean, we just
did. It's amazing.
Yeah. So I'm not saying we deserve a pat on the back, but I'm saying we did pretty good.
You did great. I think you did great.
That's a lot of news. And I'm telling you, we left stuff that would be here every week off.
I mean, be honest, there's some weeks that we're kind of struggling to find stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
And then now
it's feast or famine.
We've got plenty, but we don't have the time.
Yeah. Y'all don't. I don't think y'all want to. At least Matthew has told us nobody wants an hour-long show. So
I don't know. People are planting right now. They're in the tractor.
They've got
14
time.
hours a day.
I think they would listen.
You know that I should say we should say hello to Heath Donner because I know he's been holding on to his episode
in a while.
for planting season. So
that's good.
How are you, Heath? Hope it's going well.
Well, I got to say it's good to see you both back together.
Well, good to see you.
Nice.
We're glad to be here.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, is that just
no? I'm still filibustering.
You guys constantly when we get to this point, you usually delay. You know,
I know if you watched the show from last week when you were here, we may or may not have accused you of ducking out because you saw the questions.
Yeah, I saw it.
I didn't get a call from my dad. He's like, because we didn't do the trivia. You know, who knows? He might not even watch.
That's right.
All right, you got anything for us?
I do. Hopefully these won't be too hard.
Okay.
Try to take it easy on you.
Okay.
So
I've heard that one before.
Yeah, every week.
And you've I heard you. You said you wanted to go back and have a little trivia.
Yeah, mix it up. We'll have a little fun.
We'll do that.
I'm full of useless knowledge.
I promise I'll
quick
do
math,
that.
not so much.
Okay.
Yeah.
What breaks yet never falls? What falls yet never breaks?
Breaks. Doesn't fall.
Breaks but never falls.
What breaks yet never falls, and what falls yet never breaks?
I'm gonna say
seasons.
A river.
Close. Very close.
Go for it.
Day and night. Day and night.
Yeah, that's a good one. All right.
I can be hot or cold. I can run and be still. I can be hard and soft. What am I?
One more time.
Hot. Oh.
I can be hot or cold. I can run and be still. I can be hard and soft. What am I?
An ice chest.
Again,
I was thinking refrigerator, but
close.
It's not hard or soft.
You're in the ballpark.
Ice?
Even closer.
Really? Water.
There you go.
Okay.
Water.
Yeah. Run.
Process
and
of
be
elimination
still.
here.
That's right.
Yeah, we worked our way into
If you just keep guessing,
like,
you'll get it
warmer,
eventually. You know?
Getting
All right.
warmer. Getting warmer.
All right, and this another throwback to my dad. This is
Oh,
another
man.
one.
I love these.
A man rode into town on Tuesday,
Okay.
and he left 2 days later on Tuesday. How so?
That's horse's name Tuesday.
Bingo. You got it. You got it. All good.
I cheated a little bit. I've
There-
heard that one before.
That's why I say it's an old one, but it's a good one.
It's a
I
really
love
good
that
one.
I love that one. So
It's
Yeah.
kind of a dad joke too.
Shout out to your
It
dad
is.
for
Yeah,
that.
that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Cool.
He left us with some good ones, didn't he?
That's
All right. Well, thanks for hanging out with us. That wraps up the show for this week. The Arkansas AgCast is brought to you by Arkansas Farm Bureau. And, just thanks for taking the time to watch and listen.
Yeah. Remember, you can catch new episodes every Thursday afternoon. Find videos on Facebook and YouTube. Listen to the audio version on iTunes and Spotify. And make sure you subscribe and leave us a review when you have a few extra minutes.
That's right. I'm Jason Brown.
I'm John McMinn.
We'll see you next week.